Welcome to the Drive. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and it is our final day and
How about that? Yeah.
final 2 hours here at the 2024 NFL Scouting Combine. And last night, Matt, we finally got to see dudes on the field.
Oh, right.
doing stuff.
Actual doing athletic stuff that we're here. It's such a weird week. Like, you
And it
get
was
here
an
and it's such
interesting
anticipation.
group, too.
It was an interesting group,
The
right?
big guys on the defensive
Front
side
seven,
of things,
yeah.
those front seven guys, and I thought some interesting results there from some of these guys. To me, I thought there were some clear winners, and maybe not even just some of the guys that everybody was looking at in terms of.
I agree. I thought there's a couple names that more than held their own that doesn't seem to be getting a whole lot of publicity right now.
Like I look at Luke Arroyos. We talked a lot about him. What he ended up doing.
You knew he'd be athletic, but he was quite athletic. He really checked that box.
Yeah, 6'4", 294, and then went out and ran a 4.89 40-yard dash.
Outstanding.
1.67 split, a 32-inch vertical, and 9.8 on the broad jump.
Yeah, checks all those boxes.
Yeah,
exactly what you want in a developmental
and
player.
And he had some production at Clemson. So
I think he's a second-round pick.
Yeah, I think he helped himself. When we would do our mock drafts, we're going to get him in the third round. I don't know if that
I don't think that's
now.
happening anymore, espally in the shallow defensive tackle class.
Yeah.
Developmental
For that
player.
size and that kind of.
You would think his best football's ahead of him. A guy like him, if he would have tested poorly, really would have hurt himself.
Yeah.
And he tested, I would say, above expectations, so he kept the momentum going. Let's check those boxes. Exactly what we thought he was on tape. Okay, now I'm very comfortable to take him in round 2.
Yeah. Edgerrin Cooper had a very solid. I mean, is he the number one linebacker?
We just had Dane Brugler on. He seemed to like Golson better. I get. Yeah, and I've heard a couple people that like Cooper noticeably better. The conversation with Greg Cosell, he was glowing about Cooper. But I do think there's a conversation there. We were talking about an hour or so ago about the linebacker group. I think what I know now, Cooper and Golson are the only ones I would consider in the second round. I wouldn't take any at 20. But then, if you don't get one of those two, I mean, the third, fourth neighborhood looks fine, but I don't know that they're the answer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, sort of a sticky position right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you start looking at some of the results here, and again,
there's some good results. Yeah.
I mean, I got to do more homework now on Jordan McGee, for example, from Temple. He goes out, runs a 4.55. Again, he wasn't necessarily. He's not the highest rated guy, but okay, the speed catches your eye. Now I'm going to go look at the tape a little bit more here and dig in a little bit more with that guy. But there, if you look at this linebacker, like Cedric Gray ran a 4.64, which pales in comparison to the 4.5s that some of the other guys put up.
He was a little bigger than I thought, though.
But 4.64 is perfectly.
Yeah, it doesn't mean he's slow.
Perfectly fine.
Right, right. In this day and age, with some linebackers running sub 4.5, I mean, 10 years ago, if you ran a 4.64, you'd be the talk of the town.
Yeah,
I mean, so he's not slow.
Yeah, he is, to your point, checked in at 6'1.5", 234 pounds. Like, okay.
I think he'd be closer to 6 foot, 228 or something like that. So maybe he's even carrying a little more weight than usual.
And again, he probably slimmed down a little bit. For the
I would assume since he ran.
He's probably more comfortable at 238, something like that, 240ish.
No, so he's intriguing. I mean, but I think he's round 3 guy.
Yeah. I think the Notre Dame guys.
And the Ohio State guys.
I mean, there's
a lot to pick from.
Yeah,
the mid rounds.
Yeah, they're mid round guys.
Yeah, that's why I was saying it kind of reminds me of the centers. Like Dane just said it real well. He's like, I really think there's 3 centers in this draft that could be well above average starters, and then we'll see. This draft, I look at 2 linebackers and say, wow, you'd love to have those guys. Like that's a great addition. But the other ones are intriguing. I mean, there's a gap, though. I mean, but they're third, fourth round neighbors. But there's a lot more names there than at the center position that you'd be, comfortable taking outside the top tier guys.
Yeah. Looking here at the defensive line stuff, it's kind of unfair that they consider all the they lump all these defensive end guys.
Oh, the ends versus linebackers.
So
right.
So you're having a guy like Darius.
Well, Robinson looks terrible on these lists.
Like Darius Robinson. Oh, he had the worst. He had the worst 40 time of any of these.
But if he works out of the defensive tackles, it's like, boy, he's the most athletic guy here. He did the exact same thing. I thought the same thing. I was scrolling last night, and I'm like, oh, he's all at the bottom. That's not fair to him.
Same thing with Brandon Dorius.
Yeah. I mean, they're 60 pounds heavier than some of the other guys.
290-pound players. Why are they running against these 240-pound edge guys?
But you got to put them somewhere. And then the other one that no one's talking about having a great combine, because I think they have him listed as a linebacker, is Turner from Alabama, who's really an edge. But compared to the 220-pound linebackers, he's not at the top of the list, so nobody's talking about him. But if you ran with the edge dudes, he'd be at the top of the list, and everybody would be talking about him. Of course, the league doesn't just go to NFL.com like we do and put them in the groups that they're at. I mean, they're all going to build their own boards for their specific defense. But some guys, to me, that had really good weeks were like Verse and Turner, and that doesn't really apply to the Steelers. But just because you're not Chop Robinson, no one's talking about Verse, I mean, and because Turner wasn't with the edges, no one's talking about him, which makes no sense. And the other one is Robinson from Missouri, right?
Yeah,
he was phenomenal. Just not compared to 240-pound defensive ends.
Yeah, I mean, you'll take your defensive end that is 4.95 is perfectly fine for a guy that's 295 pounds.
Yeah, right. I mean, if Cam Hayward or Aaron Smith or any of those guys were sub 5.0, you'd be doing cartwheels.
Yeah, I think Cam was just over 5.
Was he? Yeah. I think Tuitt was in that neighborhood too. Yeah.
I mean, that's perfectly fine. Again,
they could really run.
Yeah, they could.
And they don't run 40 yards that often.
And then you look at it. Okay, his 10-yard split was 173. The vertical, 35 inches.
35 inches for
295 pounds.
That's a big body getting off the ground. Yeah.
And a 9.3 broad jump.
He checks all the athletic boxes. He's just in the wrong category.
Yeah, he's in the wrong category. You got to look at these guys. Versus the other guys who are similar sizes, not just the position.
And one thing that the Combine has an issue with is you want semi-equal amount of bodies per group, too. Yeah. You don't want one position group to have 60 guys, the other one has 20. So the guys that are close, we'll put in, move them over.
A friend of mine from back in Washington drove out and he was in the building last night watching the workouts. Nice. And he's texting me about different guys. This Braden Fisk is really
oh, man, yeah.
I mean,
he had a big day.
He had a great day, but the problem is he's got 31-inch arms.
Yeah, and he always will.
He always will. That's not going to get better for him. You're not unless they start hanging him off a ceiling or something.
But you got to think he's on the rise.
Yeah.
I mean, he looked athletic on tape. He looked quick on tape. He certainly is a tremendous hustle player and attitude player.
My question, and I wish we would have had this information when Max was here, because we talked about him with Max when the arm length came out. He said, that's going to be a problem. Tackles are going to get into his chest.
No question.
Those kind of things. Does the athleticism offset
that? Right. I mean, a Geno Atkins, Grady Jarrett can get away with shorter arms because they get into you so quick, and there's not as much to get to them. Hard to get your hands on them.
He ran a 4.78.
Yeah, and the jumps are all. All the explosive stuff,
all the athletic stuff was fantastic.
Maybe of everyone that worked out yesterday, he's the one that teams are going to have the longest discussion about. Yeah. We liked him, but we liked him as a 3rd or 4th round type guy.
His 20-yard shuttle was 4.37,
which is phenomenal, folks.
Ridiculous,
especially somebody that big. Right? I mean, he's a D tackle more than he's a D end.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to be
he
inside.
Did this stuff at 285 pounds.
Yeah. I don't know what you do with him. I mean, in terms of how do you value him in a weak defensive tackle class. He won't be for everyone, and it wasn't before this. I mean, just in terms of type. I mean, like Dick LeBeau wouldn't have a use for him, back in the day. But he did everything in his power to make you rethink that.
Right, yeah. Again, this is the question teams are asking themselves now. Does his athleticism offset the physical limitations?
That's back to the George.
Which is a weird way to say it, because his athleticism is part of his physical makeup.
Of course. But his strengths of his physical profile overtake his weaknesses of his physical profile.
Yeah.
So
he had a great Senior Bowl week.
A great Senior Bowl week. He's good on tape.
Great senior season.
Right.
There's a lot there to like, but does that offset the one negative, the short arms?
And I would think even after that workout, I would think most teams look at him as a rotational guy, especially those first couple of years. Like, I don't think he's a plug-and-play 60-snap guy ever.
But if you got 30 of those high-energy snaps out of him?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great value. Yeah. I mean, the Cam Haywards of the world will be like, I'll take 10 extra snaps off to bring that ball energy in, and let him explode. Maybe it's just passing downs. Maybe he's a big team, a team that does a lot of stunning and looping and twists and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe those guys like him better. I mean, I don't think the teams that want the 330-pound rock in the middle are going to be interested, but he's a back to the drawing board guy. I think he's a hard discussion for every team, and he made it harder on the teams that didn't like him.
Yeah, officially weighed in at 6'3" and 5'8", so shade over 6'3".
Yeah,
but 292 pounds, and you ran the.
Yeah, I mentioned like Geno Atkins and Garrett, or Grady Jarrett. He's much taller than those guys, though.
Yeah.
I mean, he just has short arms, but he's not a shorter guy.
You're not going to put him on a nose.
No.
Would it be a penetrating?
Is he a 3 technique type?
Yeah, penetrating up the field 4-3 defense? I don't know.
I would think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's where he'd have to be. But is he quick enough to do it? And, leverage and all those things. I'm sure someone will take him in the second round.
That's a big man. I would not have wanted to have been standing there as he's running down the
right
40, running at you at 290.
There's a lot of force come flying at you, right? Yeah.
But
he's one of definitely the stories of the day.
Yeah, thought he helped himself. Mekhi Wingo, again,
he's another smaller.
Doesn't fit.
Yeah.
What this?
I don't think either one will be Steelers.
Yeah, you're looking at a 6', 284-pound defensive tackle, and he goes out in 4.85 and one
phenomenal number.
1.64 split.
1.64 is getting off the ball.
There might be some cornerbacks that would be happy with a 1.64.
Oh yeah, definitely some safeties.
Yeah,
right.
The 31-inch vertical, the 9, but again, 6', 284. Doesn't fit into the 3-4 scheme. Now, on the other side of that, his teammate, Mason Smith, does fit.
I'm really warming up to this guy. Yeah. And he finished the season pretty strong. Had tons of injury, a lot of injury stuff, a lot of things derailed him, but came to LSU as like 4 or 5-star recruit. Looked like that right away. But he has a body type that the Steelers should covet.
Yeah.
Maybe give him a 3rd or 4th round. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, a big take on guys, get to the,
what were his numbers?
He ran
height and weight and everything, too.
6.
He was over 6'3", I thought.
6'5", 306.
Oh, wow, he was 6'5". Okay.
Yeah. Then you're looking at a 5'01", 40. 175 on the split, which is okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah,
it's fine.
31-inch vertical, and you're looking at 9-foot broad, 7.62 on the 3-cone, and 4.69 on the 20-yard shuttle.
All were fine for me.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't blow your doors off, but I think he could be a maybe future starter.
Yeah,
maybe.
In terms of the defensive lineman, which one of those things are you looking at there and saying, okay, that's the one? Because certain things you look at with.
I like the 6'5" part.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, but I also think he's pretty thick, and he could add another 10 pounds too and hold it well.
Yeah, they got his video here of him running. I mean, he just looks like he.
Yeah, he's a natural athlete.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a powerful human being.
Long arms.
Yeah,
and,
yeah. You can see why he would be a high recruit. Went to LSU and did well as a true freshman. Yeah, I'd be very intrigued with him. I need to do a little more homework on his health and things like that, and because things got derailed a little bit. But by all accounts, his last 3 or 4 games at LSU were his freshman type games. Like he was putting it back all together and healthy at the end there, which is great.
Yeah, so that's a guy to also keep an eye on there. Again, so much of this when you're looking at these guys is, are they big enough? And it's kind of changed. The Steelers drafted Leal. He wasn't the typical size that they're typically looking for there. But a lot of this you can't. I mean, you have to be a certain height / size.
I think so. I mean, you're in the AFC North and you want big physical people. You're doing battle with the Ravens and the Browns run game. I mean, in weather and sloppy fields and things like that. I don't think you want. We were using a bunch of car analogies earlier. I don't think you want Ferraris out there. I think you want some dump trucks and some, F-150s and that type of. You need to be the baddest dude out there.
Yeah. Gabe Hall, 5'03".
That's a good one too.
172 on the split, 31.5-inch vertical, 9.7 on the broad jump, which is
Really good.
Yeah.
What was his arms and all that? They were all. I mean, I know he was 6'5".
Yeah, they don't have a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, they don't. In the profile.
6'6", 291.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, no, they do 34.5-inch arms, which is
more than fine. That's definitely an advantage. Yeah.
And then 7.65 on the 3-cone, 4.67 on the 20-yard shuttle.
Okay, I have not seen shuttle and 3 cones for many of the D linemen.
You just look at this guy. Look like that's a 300-pounder that doesn't
good
look,
Cedar Bowl.
It doesn't look 300 pounds.
No, he looks like a basketball player type guy. You know, I'm sure he'll be 10 pounds heavier in 2 years of good weight.
Yeah.
He's very intriguing.
And that arm over move is the arm over that he kept hitting people with at the Senior Bowl, and they just couldn't block it.
Couldn't block it. He was really quick off the snap and uses
the arms are so long that he's got the.
Well, he gets to you fast.
Yeah,
he gets to you really fast. No, I'd be very intrigued with him. I sit here in the first day of March going, yeah, 3rd, 4th round, I'd be all over him. But then he goes like 55th overall.
Yeah,
you know, because there's those human beings don't grow on trees, right?
Yeah. I mean, there are only so many of those guys on the planet,
and everyone's saying the same thing, going, "Oh, I'll take that guy, those tools to work with." And we just saw him at Senior Bowl do well. Like, where are the negatives?
Right.
Yeah.
That's
a weak defensive tackle class.
Yeah, and especially it's weaker because of. There's a bunch of smaller guys in this, a bunch of the shorter guys in this one.
Yeah,
which is going to be fine for some teams. That's not going to bother them.
Right.
But if you come into this looking for, he's got to be 6'4", or at least 6'3", in a lot of change, and 300 pounds. There might be 6.
Yeah, there might be 6, which is almost like going into a receiver draft saying I only want a slot that's super shifty, or I only want an outside receiver.
I got to have a receiver
big time
that's 6'4".
deep threat. Yeah, that runs under 4.5. That's a downfield guy. Like if you're coming in with parameters, which a lot of people will, and Steelers in particular, or the D line, they're going to be hard to meet this year. So you might have to take that guy a little earlier than most drafts, and not to mention the 2 guys that look like they're pretty set to be first-round picks, Newton and Murphy, don't fit that mold. So, they're definitely the smaller penetrator attacking type. And the league likes those guys now more than they ever did. I mean, it's a passing league and all those things. But it's a tough place to shop right now.
Yeah, it was one of the reasons why the Steelers traded up a few years ago into the 5th round, traded the future pick into the 5th round to get Isaiah Loudermilk because
he has these traits.
He has those traits.
Yeah,
he was probably the last guy in that draft that had those traits, and they didn't have a pick in that round.
But there's not a Quinnen Williams or a Jeffrey Simmons that has all the above, you know, the power and the explosive. I mean, that guy doesn't exist in this draft.
Absolutely. We're going to get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on Steelers Nation Radio and Fox Sports Pittsburgh. We are live from the NFL Scouting Combine, our final 2 hours here. At some point, we're hopeful that Steelers General Manager Omar Khan will drop by. I'm texting people to find out about this.
We'll work on it.
Yeah, we'll see. Other stuff comes up.
Oh yeah,
during this, I mean,
it's a busy time.
He's a very busy guy when he's out here because there are workouts going on, there's interviews going on, things of that nature. He of course wasn't here the first couple of days. I'm sure there was some catch up.
Right.
Him in that regard as well. So we'll see what happens with that. But we're going to get to a break. We'll be back with more on The Drive right after this.
out in the blaze. The stadium is crazy. The feeling's amazing. We set the stage. Go out in the blaze. The stadium's crazy. The feeling's amazing. We set the stage. Go out in the blaze. The stadium's crazy. The feeling's amazing. We set the stage. Go out in the blaze. The stadium's crazy. The feeling's amazing. We set the stage. We go all in. The sweetest revenge. We're under pressure. All we do is win. No less than 10. You see the fin. That means it's danger. Got an evil grin. I don't know what they was thinking. Should've never poked the bear. When you look at the matchup, it never was fair. They don't compare. We are in the air. We some living legends. All they do is stop and stare. We go all in. All we do is win. Go all in. All we do is win. Go out in the blaze. The stadium is crazy. The feeling's amazing. We set the stage. Go out in the blaze. The stadium's crazy. The feeling's amazing. We set the stage. Go out in the blaze. The stadium's crazy. The feeling's amazing. We set the stage. Go out in the blaze. The stadium's crazy. The feeling's amazing. We set the stage.
And Mike's hot.
Welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is Matt
Just
Williamson.
in time, dude.
I'm like looking over there. We're getting ready to go back on the air, and you just got
I use the bathroom once in a while. Yeah, got a drink on the way. Hit the water fountain. All out of fluids here.
So we're starting to get some measurements now.
You like my 10-yard split though, coming from the water fountain from here on the bad knee?
Did not look good. Starting to get some measurements now on some of the defensive backs.
That's actually what I was thinking about while I was taking care of business back there. I'm like, I wonder if we have D-back measurements yet.
Kyrie Jackson from Oregon.
Ooh, let's go.
6'3" and 6'8".
Wow.
194 pounds, 32 and 6/8 inch arms, 9 and 2/8 inch hand, a wingspan 78 inches.
Yeah, I mean, he's a condor.
He is a condor.
Yeah, he's like basically 6'4". Wow.
DJ James out of Auburn.
Okay.
5'11" and 5/8".
Good.
175 pounds. So a little
I
bit
knew he was
heavier.
going to be skinny, but that's not too bad, right?
I mean, I'd seen stuff where he was like 160 pounds.
Yeah, yeah.
No, he's.
I wonder if he runs. I mean, my hunch is look good here, run at Auburn's pro day.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
We'll see. 31-inch arms, 8 and 3/8 inch hands. So tiny hands.
It doesn't. I mean, yeah, it affects your ball skills and ability to haul on the ball at times, but you still would get PBUs. And do we think he's a slot only?
Maybe.
Yeah.
It's Cam Hart out of Notre Dame.
He's huge, huh?
6'3", 202, 33-inch arms, 9 and 3/8 inch hands, and a 78 and 7/8 wingspan.
Yeah, he has wider shoulders than some of these tall, skinny guys.
Yeah.
He's giant.
Cooper DeJean, I should say. 6'1.5", basically. So 6 and 4/8. 203.
Good.
31 and 1/8 inch arms, 9 and 5/8 hands, 74 and 78 and 7/8 wingspan.
Yeah, he looks apart. I mean, big guy. I wonder how much he's been able to work out and stuff too. Over the last couple months, maybe his body's even going to change more once he's back to full go.
Yeah,
he can do a lot.
Tennessee's Kamal Haddon. He's kind of a mid-round, third,
Okay.
fourth-round guy. 6'1", 196, basically 31-inch arms, 74 and an 1/8 inch.
That's the size you're looking for.
Yeah. I mean, he's got the size. This is a big one. Mike Sanistril.
Ooh, okay.
5'9" and 3/8.
Oh, that's better than I thought.
Better.
Right.
Yeah, he's not under 5'9".
He's bigger than Mike Hilton or a guy like that. Right.
I mean, that's Denzel Ward size, basically.
Yeah, that's a good comp. Right.
Yeah, 182 pounds, which, okay.
You knew he wasn't going to be 200.
Right, yeah, but that's a pretty thick guy for, okay.
He throws his body around, too.
Yeah, basically 31-inch arms, and he has a 74.5-inch wingspan despite being.
Okay. I mean, he has a broad chest, too, for like a corner, smaller guy.
Which helps you if you're
his size is better than I thought.
If you're going to be a slot.
Oh, yeah.
The longer arms, because you're going to do a lot of run tackling.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Wrapping up big backs,
Bigger
taking
guys,
on pulling guards, things like that. No, I think that's a good start for the combine for him.
Absolutely.
That's phenomenal.
You look at so Nate Wiggins is the next guy on here from
I wonder
Clemson.
what he weighs.
6'1" 3/8".
Tall.
173 pounds.
Yeah.
That's a problem. 30 and half-inch arms, 30 inches and a half, 9-inch hands, 74 and 2/8 inch wingspan. So Sanistril has a longer wingspan
than Wiggins. Interesting. Sanistril's is long. Wiggins is not. I don't love that. And we were actually just talking about Wiggins with Dane, 20 minutes ago or so, and we're talking about Steeler fits. He said, "Boy, he's super twitchy. I don't know if he's the physical banger that team wants at that position." Then he comes in tall and not great length and under 180, right? Was it 176? Yeah. I might hesitate to use the 20th pick on him. But then he'll run a 4.2 today, and
right, and then he'll say, "Well, I'm 176 pounds because."
In the pro day, he'll be 183 or something. Yeah, still, he's still lean.
Yeah, Terry and Arnold.
Ooh.
5'11" and 6/8, so just a shade
foot,
under 6 foot. 189 pounds.
I thought he'd be a little heavier.
31 and 5/8 inch arms. He's got a 76 and a quarter inch wingspan.
Okay, those are all fine.
Yeah.
But not blow your doors off.
No, I mean, it's
fine.
Average cornerback size.
Yeah.
Kalen Carson out of Wake Forest, another one of those mid-round 5'11" and 7/8, 199 pounds, 31 and 3/8 inch arms, and 75 and 5/8 on the wingspan.
Okay. I mean, he's a pound under, but 200-pound corners are
not
a dime a dozen. Yeah.
Let's see here. Who else we got here?
Seen any safeties yet?
Just listing them all as DBs here.
No, okay.
There's 100 of them that have
made
into it. Jarvis Brownlee, another guy.
I think he's going to be 178-ish.
He's 5'10" and 3/8.
Not bad.
194 pounds.
Oh, wow.
So a little thicker than you would think. 31.
Wonder if he does the I'm not going to run trick and look good at this one.
I don't know if you'd do that as a cornerback.
Yeah. I like him.
31 and a quarter inch arms, 75 and a quarter inch on the wingspan.
Okay. That passes all the tests, though. That's a good start for him. He screams like third round.
Missouri's Chris Abrams-Drain, another one of those mid-round guys. 5'11" and 3/8, 179, 31-inch arms, 74 and 5/8 on the wingspan.
Fine. Yeah. Check the box.
Johnny Dixon out of Penn State, 5'10" and 6'8", so almost 5'11", 188 pounds, 29 and a half inch arms.
Ooh.
So a little shorter on the arms. And he might be a slot.
I'd say he screams slot to me.
Yeah. Let's see. Kalen King, the other Penn State corner, 5'11" and a quarter, 191 pounds, 30 inches and 7/8 on the arms, and a 74 and a quarter inch wingspan.
What's with the short arm Penn State corners?
I don't know.
Yeah. His size is about where we thought it'd be.
Yeah.
That's
Jerry and Jones out of Florida State, 5'11" and 7/8, 190 pounds. 30-inch arms, 73 and a quarter inches on the wingspan.
Okay.
We get Chris Braswell.
Why is he?
We're into these are today's measurement. That's from yesterday still.
Okay, I would say he's an edge.
Why are we? I'm missing some. Need to
got to refresh a little bit.
I got to refresh here because we're. So
they're just pumping them out like crazy right now.
Charles Robinson's putting these out on Twitter as they come out here. Kamari Lassiter from Georgia. 5'11" and 4/8, 186 pounds, 30 and 7/8 on the arm length, and 73 and 3/4 inches on the wingspan.
Not super physically imposing.
No, for a guy that's a safety, but he might be a slot safety.
I think Lassiter's going to be a corner.
I'm sorry, you're right.
He might be a slot.
I'm mixing those
guys. He's not super physical either. Yeah. You just think a Georgia starting corner that's played as much as he had would be more impressive physically.
Elijah Jones out of Boston College.
Oh, this is a guy that we need to know a lot.
We've talked about him a little bit here. 6'1" and a half inches.
Wow.
On the height. 185 pounds, 31 and a half inches on the arm length, 76-inch wingspan.
Yeah. Okay. So his arms aren't super long.
Yeah.
Takes the ball away. Little on the lean side, but he's tall. I mean, he fits the Steeler mold in a big way.
Yeah. And I would think
that's a name we need to know. Yeah.
I would think that Mike Tomlin might know a little something.
Maybe a little bit. Have a little scoop on him.
Yeah. Let's see here. Anybody else sticking out here? Kind of tough to. I don't understand. they've kind of screwed up Twitter a little bit here, or the
X
Twitter. Some of this stuff, but I think when you look at
this corner class isn't bad. I mean, the day 2 stuff. If they don't get one in round 1,
there's dudes.
There's dudes. We had a pretty good conversation with Dane about it just now. 2nd, 3rd, 4th round, I think you're going to be pretty happy with your selection for where the Steelers sit.
Yeah,
and I think we both agree they're going to draft one.
Yeah, in terms of these guys, the cornerbacks, the different sizes and heights and everything, that doesn't bother me because you use different guys different. Like, we talk about Sanistril. Well, he's 5'9" and change. Well, he's a slot.
He would be your Sullivan, and you'd much rather have Sanistril, without question. And obviously, they have a penchant for going after long, tall corners. Their corner room is going to be as pretty as any in the league.
Yeah, but they don't have.
But that doesn't want them all of them.
Right.
You don't want the whole corner room to be 6'3" condors.
Yeah. You always talk about your wide receiver room, how you want that to look like a basketball team. You got your point guard, you got your center.
Well, how do you guard those guys?
Yeah. Your defensive backs kind of need to be that
sort of a mirror.
Yeah, backcourt. You're not going to have the center. You're not going to have the 6'8" guy.
Yeah, you don't want Trice or Porter in the slot. I mean, those guys are outside dudes or following the number 1. And you need some physicality and some thicker body types. And a slot safety would be very much in the mix if you could get one that could drop all the way back to the deep half or come down in the box. And so, no, I do think you need a variety, including your linebackers and safeties. A tall 6'2" safety that can play in the box, but you don't want them outside the numbers. Well, that might be big against the Ravens this year with their double tight end sets. Or you got to be really versatile week to week.
Yeah, that to me is why a guy like DeJean is so.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he gives you just that.
He's the answer to every test.
Yeah, he gives you that position versatility. Oh, you need to slot this game. He plays in the slot. It's the same thing with Minka. Minka can play in the slot. He can play there. He can play there. Yeah. Wherever you need him at.
As great as Joey is, and he's obviously a foundational player, he's not that. He's going to follow ones. I mean, that's a rare trait.
A rare trait.
So that in itself has immense value, but you do need some puzzle pieces that don't all look the same.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we'll keep
skeleton key.
Right. Yeah. The cheat codes.
No, DeJean is definitely that.
Yeah.
I think that's why people like Arnold a lot too, because he's physical enough to play the run. He's going to spend a lot of time in the slot. Did you hear about the McKinstry injury?
Yes, I did. I wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, we were talking about it earlier. There's not a ton of information, but now is he there in the second round for the Steelers? That's a different conversation.
Well, they're saying it's a Jones fracture in the foot, and he expects to be able. He's going to get it fixed, and expects to be able to run at the pro day.
But he's not the fastest guy to begin with. Moats had a good call. Seeing it from players' perspective, he's like, well, if he hasn't run, speed's not his forte to begin with. Do you want to get it fixed and then a week later run your only 40? Yeah. If you're not real fast to begin with, if 4.62 doesn't help you, I'd rather just not run it. Maybe do everything but.
Or you look at the a team might look at the 4.62 and say, well, he's really a 4.54 guy.
You knew he's not a 4.3 guy. I mean, we all know that watching the tape. But the biggest question is his running. You can't imagine it's going to be in perfect, pristine condition.
To me, the bigger thing for these cornerbacks, as much as everybody gets enamored with the straight line speed, is the change of direction.
Yes. Agreed. And he's good in that way, and he's smart, and he's under control, and has good eyes. And I forget who was describing it this way, that he's great with his back to the ball, which is when corners lose their mind.
Yeah,
they lose their marbles.
And that's when they start getting grabby and doing those
I don't know where the ball's coming. Yeah. I'm going to get beat. Yeah. But he's experienced. He's smart. Saban coached. I'm still intrigued. I don't want him at 20, to be very honest with you, because there's just 20 other guys I like better. But if he starts to slip, he could be in the mix.
Yeah, so we'll see, how that
but you feel for the kid, too.
You really do.
Yeah.
Oh, I like this for Max Melton.
He's another one. Could be a 5'2".
5'11", 187, 32 and 1/8 inch arms. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Bigger than I thought, to be honest
76 and 5/8 inch wingspan. He can fly.
Yeah. This might be a really good combine for him.
Quinion Mitchell.
Ooh. I bet he's 208.
6 foot and 1/8. 195.
Okay.
He probably slimmed
down.
I bet
he's built for speed then. Yeah. Because he's talking about setting records.
Yeah. He's a confident young man.
Yeah, yeah, he is. What you want from your corner, as long as it go too far. But yeah, I don't think he's has a lot of self-doubt.
No, he's not lacking in anything in terms of that. Despite, and when you look at him, he could have left Toledo.
Oh yeah, I think
I'm sure he was getting offers.
Yeah. Right.
And he
decided, it's not hard to spot that talent.
Yeah, he decided to stay there out of loyalty to the program that had brought him up. And not a lot of these guys are doing that now.
No, I mean Wes always brings it up with Zach Frazier. He could have went to Bama. I mean that's hard to say no to. I mean
for him though, that's where he's from.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Good point. I don't ding any of these players now for transferring. It used to be a major red flag.
Yeah, if somebody's waving the dollars at you and just peeling them off, okay, all right. I
remember when Flacco came out. I was like, well, he couldn't beat out Tyler Palko at Pitt. I mean, why do I want that guy? He went to Delaware. Now, if you transfer, it's not a negative at all. But the dudes that do stay that obviously could have left, that to me is like, wow, okay, I like that loyalty. And, I forget his name, but there's a guard at North Dakota State that I guess got all kinds of SEC offers this year.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, hey, I committed, and I'm in this thing until the end. I respect that.
No, I do too. And, what I really don't like to see, I get it if somebody, I've kind of changed my mind on this a little bit because of the money that's now involved.
Yeah.
If somebody transfers, if you're a backup at somewhere and you want to go somewhere else and play, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
I get
Somebody's offering you the money.
That's a little different, right.
The ones that are transferring 3 and 4 times
is a little nuts.
That's a little crazy.
Yeah. I mean, but Arthur said it yesterday. He's like, I was at James Madison. If the times were different and someone was offering me a nice chunk of change, my family could have used it. I would have gone.
Yeah. I mean,
right.
Everybody has different family situations. I
right.
get it. Josh Newton out of TCU. 5'10" and 5'8", 190, 31-inch arms, 74 and a quarter inch on the wingspan. He's another one of those mid-round guys.
Yeah, there's a lot of them now. I mean, a lot of those names you've just mentioned in the last 20 minutes should absolutely be in the second, but maybe third-round mix more so. And there's a lot to pick from.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
A lot of them. So,
and none of them I thought really stood out negatively height weight stuff so far.
Yeah, there's nobody's coming in 5'8" change.
No, like noticeably smaller than we thought. So no, I like this group.
Absolutely. Let's get to a break.
Okay.
He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to us live from the NFL Scouting Combine here in Indianapolis on Steelers Nation Radio and Fox Sports Pittsburgh. We'll be back with more right after this. Chat's new Combine Challenge is now live. Yins Chat is the Steelers trivia and predictive game where you can compete versus Steeler Nation for prizes. This week, answer daily trivia on the NFL Combine. Now, today, question is, one of the questions for today is the number of cornerbacks registering a 40-yard dash faster than 4.3 seconds in this year's draft. 4.3 is flying.
That's flying.
Over or under 1.5?
Under 4.3.
Under 4.3.
I don't know the names that I would say have a real good chance, but I'm going to go under.
Yeah, I mean,
I
think
4.29 is moving.
Yeah, if you're saying under, if 4.30 doesn't get you there,
right,
you got to be under that. There's probably like 5 guys in history.
Slightly more, but not many.
Not many more than that.
Right.
Just defensive backs.
And we were just talking about corners,
running backs and wide receivers and things like that. That's flying.
I mean, last segment we were just talking about how we like the size of all these corners. Well, fast guys. I mean, if they're a little heavier than we thought, then they're probably slightly less likely to go under 4.3.
Yeah, you answer that question now on Yins Chat on the Steelers mobile app for your chance to win a signed jersey from Broderick Jones, the Steelers' first-round pick last year. Questions close on Monday.
So
and
get on that.
Yeah, get on that. And then I also sent from my iPhone. I'm tapping the helmet there, Gerard.
Inside joke, but that's great.
Anyways, can we tell that on the air? No? Okay.
Probably not. It's not awful, but it is humorous. Of a former Steeler.
Let's just say there was sometimes
we don't have to say the name.
They're Ron Burgundy type situations with
reading the cards.
And I get it when you do a lot of these reads and things like that, and you're sitting there and you're reading. You get several of them, and you're reading, and you just continue to read right through the whole. Well, at one point there was a player who was doing a PSA, and he was reading said PSA, and while wearing a helmet, and at the end of it, it said, "You tap the helmet," and he kept reading, "You tap the helmet," instead of just tapping the helmet.
One time I would understand, but after
yes, it happened multiple times.
The humorous part here it was over and over and over. And if we told you the name, you'd say, that adds up.
Yeah, that makes some sense.
Yeah, that's put 2 and 2 together. Yep.
Okay. Just looking here at some of the other heights and weights here, and again with the speed on the for the cornerbacks. Really anything. Like guys will look at or people will look at a guy who runs a 4.55 and say, "Oh, I don't know if he's fast enough to play."
Might have to go safety.
That's plenty fast enough.
Depending on your scheme,
depending on your
what
scheme
you're
and
doing.
your size and what you're asking from. If I'm playing a zone scheme and I'm primarily a zone, like Deshae Townsend.
Oh yeah.
Was a 4.5 mid 4.5 guy.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody ever questions his speed when the Steelers are playing a lot of zone blitz.
True.
He's got his face. He's got eyes on the corner, quarterback, and he's breaking on the football.
Those Seahawk cover 3 teams want length more than speed. You know, I mean, depending what you're after at the position, who's in your division, things of that nature. Steelers specifically, though, I think their secondary has to be faster next year than was last year.
Yeah.
I mean, as a whole.
Yeah.
And
if you're going to play as much man as they do and want to do, you have to have the speed.
Yeah. I mean, Wallace is not a speed demon. Peterson's not a speed demon. I mean, so I think defensive team speed in the secondary should be an off-season priority for them.
Yeah.
Because they're definitely going to add more defensive backs. I don't want ones with questionable speed.
Yeah.
But your point's very well taken. Depending what you're at, it doesn't mean you can't play corner.
Yeah.
If you're a 4.55 guy.
I mean, again, we talked about the linebackers to open the show today. 4.6 is plenty fast enough for an inside
4.6 is moving.
Yeah.
4.6 is moving.
What you don't want is 4.8.
4.8 is worrisome. I mean, you're probably only a between the tackle plugger banger, and those guys are falling by the wayside quick.
Yeah, looking here at some of those linebacker sizes from late yesterday. Steel Chambers, 6 foot and 3/4, 226.
Fine.
And he'll run.
He'll run well.
He'll run well.
Only 3 of them did the 3-cone, but he was the best of the 3 or whatever. But the athleticism is his forte. He looks like a special teamer turn hopeful starter, maybe spot player in the meantime.
It maybe plays just as a dime linebacker or something like that.
Maybe.
His teammate, his fellow, I don't want to call the Ohio State, Michigan guy's teammate.
There's some listeners that would not approve.
His conference mate, Junior Colson, 6'2" and 2/8, 238.
Great size.
Great size there. 32.5-inch arms, so he's got a little bit longer arms.
Very physically impressive.
77.5-inch wingspan.
Yeah. He's in contention for first linebacker off the board. Really impressive player.
He and Edgerrin Cooper right next to each other here. They're almost identical.
Really close, yeah.
6'2" and 1/8 for Cooper, 230, 34-inch arms.
A little leaner, a little longer.
Yeah.
I think he's a little more explosive, but
and
I think they're equal, pretty close to being equal prospects.
Wingspan on him. Like he's
which
would play well as a middle of the field linebacker.
Oh yeah, he takes up a lot of space. He disrupts throwing lanes. The zone stuff's really good, and he can really run too.
Yeah. Let's see here. I finally figured out this whole thing here. Tommy Eichenberg out of Notre Dame, another guy, 6'2" and 3/8, 233.
I don't think he ran.
He did not.
He looks the part, and he's plenty. Size-wise is not an issue.
Jalen Ford out of Texas, 6'2" and 3/8, 240.
Ooh, I think he moves pretty well for a big guy too.
Yeah, 31 and 3/4-inch arms, 74-inch and change wingspan.
Maybe he gets into day two.
Yeah. Cedric Gray out of North Carolina. 6'1.5", 234, 32.5-inch arms, and a 78 and 78.38 wingspan.
Is that the highest one we've seen yet?
I think from the linebackers.
From the linebackers, yeah.
Like you're spreading it out.
No, his build is good for what we're after here too.
Yeah. Tyron Hopper out of Missouri, 6'1 and 3/4, 231, 31 and 3/8-inch arms, 77 and 3/4-inch arms for him. So.
That'll work.
Yeah, that's big enough to ride
as
well.
Not a lot of, from what I saw, the linebacker heights and weights, there's not a lot of safety linebacker-sized guys, and there's not hardly any 240, 245 bangers types.
Yeah. They're all in that 225 to 240 range, somewhere in there.
I mean, as much as teams spread the ball out in college and all that, that's the neighborhood these guys are at now.
Yeah, starting to see some of that morph a little bit here.
Mm-hmm.
There was a while there where, there were all these guys that were 6 foot 220.
Yeah.
6 foot 215. Like what are you doing?
Can you play in the box?
Yeah, the kid that the Browns drafted.
JOK.
JOK.
He's very small. He flies on the field.
Yeah, but you worry
only
about
some
the
things he can do, and the injuries and holding up for the whole season, that kind of stuff too.
Jeremiah Trotter.
Yeah, I don't think this was good from what I remember.
6 foot 228.
Yeah.
31.5-inch
short arms.
Yeah,
just
that stands out in the wrong way.
I know.
This group,
I wish he was more of a heavier banger by the way he plays.
Yeah,
and he didn't. I mean, I'm sure he's trying to stay lean to run well for this game or for this event. I respect what he does on the field and his father and all that, but I can't consider him in the second round.
Yeah.
No, we saw at the earliest.
Peyton Wilson go out yesterday and run a 4.4 340. 6 foot 3 and 7/8, so almost 6'4".
Yeah, that height really stands out.
233 pounds, but the arm length 30.5 inches.
Very short.
But the wingspan 75 3/4 inches.
Isn't as bad, right?
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, that's why they give you both.
More surface area with tackling there because you're using the shoulder.
Yep. So I knew he had medical issues. Dane said he's had 12 surgeries since high school.
Oh.
Including high school, it was.
Yeah.
Well, in his life, he's had 12 surgeries.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
I'm no doctor, but
I got to think there's red flags there. You can't tell me all those things are fine, no concerns.
Yeah,
But is it he's, week to week to stay healthy, or is he a one-contract guy only and then you don't want to invest in him? I mean,
that's the problem.
That's where you got to weigh those things. Yeah.
They should also, with a lot of these things like this, because this matters, when you're putting these things out, put the age with the guy.
Yeah.
This prospect is 20, like Nate Wiggins.
Yes.
This prospect is 24.
Especially for weight.
25.
I mean, as we all know, you get into your 20s and human being men, you're going to put some weight on naturally.
A team might look at a guy like Wiggins and say, okay, yes, he's lean now.
But he's a year younger than most of these guys.
But he's he's not 24 like some of these other guys. he's going to put on 10 good pounds.
And people laugh at this stuff, but that's why they walk out on the stage in their underwear. You want to see their bone structure.
Yeah.
I mean, if he has really narrow hips and, bone structure, he's going to have a harder time holding weight, putting weight on. And, real narrow calves, you're not going to add 2 pounds per calf, So that kind of stuff matters in terms of, he is 20 and he's only 180. Can we get him to 190? Oh, yeah, it looks like he can hold it.
Yeah. Kool-Aid McKinstry, 5'11 and a half, 199 pounds, 32-inch arms, and basically 76 inches on the wingspan.
That's good measurements. I mean, he's a solidly built, strong guy.
Yeah, so that's kind of what you wanted to see from him there. Andrew Phillips, another guy that we like.
Kentucky linebacker and the Kentucky corner, to me, are both really intriguing for the Steelers.
He came in at 5'10 and 6'8", so basically 5'11", 190 pounds, 31 and a quarter inch arms, and a 75-inch wingspan.
I think he's a day 2 player, and I think he's supposed to run really well.
Yeah. Enos Rakestraw, another one of those guys.
I didn't see his measurements yet.
And he may benefit from the Kool-Aid McKinstry.
I was thinking that too.
Yeah. He may now be more solidly in the
5
first round.
yeah.
5'11 and 3/8, 183 pounds, 32-inch arms, and a 75 and 5/8 inch wingspan. And he's a guy, when you talk about the physicality, he will take on the edge and do those things.
He plays strong.
Yeah.
I mean, he's kind of a wiry Lamar Jackson strength guy. He doesn't look like a bodybuilder, but he has a lot of strength to him for not being a particularly heavy, thickly built guy. And he's not bashful at all.
No, not at all. And so that's a guy that
I can see the Steelers really like him.
Yeah.
I just think he's in no man's land between 20 and the 50s.
Yeah, that's the problem.
But if there's a trade down
because he's probably
or a trade
too
up
high for 20, but he's not going to make it to 52.
No chance, I don't think.
Yeah. Which is interesting, if you see a run on those quarterbacks early, and when we had
I'm getting the thought McCarthy's no chance of being there at 20.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think there will be 4 off the board.
And when you look at that grouping of when we had Tony on yesterday, said it kind of backed up what we've been saying here, that there's 24 first-round grade guys.
Yes.
With the Steelers sitting at 20.
And that might not even include McCarthy.
And that might not include. Right. That's where I was going with that, because the quarterbacks, I think he said he had 3 quarterbacks in there.
I can't remember how Tony had him.
I think that's what he said.
I remember him not loving McCarthy. When we
so if 1 or 2 of those quarterbacks happen to go up there, now you're down to 26 draftable, guys that are, So if you're the Steelers and you're sitting there at 20, and you say, okay, we can move back 4 or 5 spots. Maybe we don't get our number 1 guy that we were thinking we're going to get at 20.
But if there's 3 pretty
equal, we've got 5 guys that we would take there. We can move back.
I think that's very much in the cards, especially considering the tackle and corner depth. Another name that I think is Steeler fans should be happy about is Chop Robinson had such a good day.
Yeah.
Could he go in the top 19 now?
All the mock drafts that you've seen to this point had him going after that Steeler pick. Now all of a sudden teams start going, well, he's got better traits than what we thought. We could use an edge rusher.
Edge guys never fall. Yeah. So he's another one that could be in the mix.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I like where they sit at 20. Is the
it's
bottom
a good spot.
Line. Yeah,
it's a good spot. Unlike some previous years where you're looking at, there's 15 first-rounders, and you're sitting at 20, and you're like, well, we're not going to get any of those guys.
It'd be really costly to go from 20 to 15 to get in there, where this one, you may pick up something nice to move back 2-3 spots.
Yeah, for somebody who has to have one of those guys.
Maybe it's Chop Robinson they have to have because the other 2 edges are gone, and they see a drop-off.
Could be, absolutely. That could be the case. We're going to get to another break. That's going to do it for hour number 1 of The Drive here, live from the NFL Scouting Combine here in Indianapolis. We'll be back with hour number 2 here on The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio and Fox Sports Pittsburgh. Right after this, he's Matt Williamson. I'm Dale Lolley. Don't you go anywhere. Welcome back to our final hour here, live from the NFL Scouting Combine here in Indianapolis. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, except no others as imitations.
One more hour, and then we're on the road back home to watch the Combine.
Absolutely. Beginning to look here like Omar Khan is not going to make it over to us today. I don't think that's going to happen. But he did speak yesterday, and I was part of those conversations. He said that basically, he was asked obviously about the quarterback situation, and he said, "Look, we're going to explore all avenues in terms of acquiring additional quarterbacks. We're going to." He said, "We keep 3 every year. You take 4 to camp."
Yep. These are just that's going to happen.
We've got 1 under contract, so yes, we're going to explore all options. We've had those conversations internally, and he said that's my job. That's what we do. It's we can't just say, "Oh, we're just going to draft 2 quarterbacks and be happy with it," or of course not. We're going to go into free agency, or we're going to make this trade, and they're not going to say that stuff. But he did say, "I still very much believe in Kenny Pickett as a starter. I'm Arthur Smith likes Kenny Pickett, and I want to see what Arthur Smith can bring out of Kenny Pickett here in year 3." And at the same time, he said they've opened some conversations with the agent for Mason Rudolph. He says, "Look, we've told them we would like him back. They know we want him back. At the same time, I understand that they want to go out and explore their options because why wouldn't you? You're 2 weeks away.
Oh, it's knocking on the door. Right.
You're right here. You might as well go out and see. Wait, what else is available? Maybe somebody was bowled over by what Mason Rudolph did at the end of last season, and they feel like he's the answer. You don't know. If you're Mason's,
or they want him in the mix, or they're going to pay you. There should be more the Steelers would, or who knows. Frankly, if you've been listening to Drive, these are kind of what we've been telling you guys since the end of the season. I don't see any shocking statement or anything that he said that just kind of affirms exactly how we thought. That they do still have a lot of hope for Pickett. We had a really good conversation earlier today with Paul Koharski right next to us talking. He's a Titans guy. He was talking about Tannehill and his ability to mentor and what he's like as a person, as well as Arthur Smith's scheme with the Titans and what he's like as a person. And I think it all fits quite well with where Pickett's at. I think Rudolph would be a wonderful adjustment as well if it's not Tannehill. I think there's some other names like Brissett that are interesting, and there are some options. I don't expect there to be a tidal wave type move, though.
No, I don't expect that either, because they're going to give Kenny Pickett every opportunity to show in a different offense. If he can do it or not. People are acting like the book has been written on Kenny Pickett.
Right.
And the Steelers,
they're very high on him.
He's like, "Look, we've seen a lot of good things from Kenny. Are there things that he has to improve on? Absolutely. Nobody's saying he's a finished product.
Of course.
Some people are acting like he is a finished product, and that's not the case.
And in this circumstances, I think what's fair to him is to give him a chance in the new system, too. I mean, a real chance. He may not even win the starting job. I mean, there's a chance that he's the second best quarterback at camp.
But you're not signing a Russell Wilson.
I don't think
and
so.
Bringing him in here because
certainly not a Cousins.
Because he's going to want guarantees that he's going to be the starter.
Yeah, unless someone is a phenomenal player. I mean, like the Chargers are trading Justin Herbert or something bonkers.
Yeah.
I don't know who that's a realistic option. Would you say you're the guy?
Yeah.
No competition QB1.
And I don't care what or whose rankings you happen to look at. Nobody's ranking Russell Wilson higher than 15.
Yeah, right.
18, somewhere.
Got a little better as the season went on.
Nobody's ranking Justin Fields higher than 15, 18.
Right. They all have their questions, and you would hope Fields at least is improving. You'd hope Wilson's holding on for dear life.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not improving.
No, right. He's not going to get better than
not going to get better.
Whereas that's what they see with Pickett. Like, okay, we think
his best days might be ahead.
He can still get to that point.
Mm-hmm. And they have stuff invested, but he's not a big cap hit or anything like that either. You're not concerned with the cap situation. Deep down, I think Kenny Pickett's going to be the starting quarterback in Week 1.
Yeah,
I mean
if I had to put $5 down right now, who's the guy? It's going to be Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, but there's going to be a name in camp. I mean, it's going to be, true backup nobody types.
Yeah,
I mean,
it might be what if they went out and they re-signed Mason Rudolph and still brought in a Tannehill?
That's actually a conversation I've been wanting to have, too, is can you – yeah, it'd be nice to draft one, but the chances of you landing a Rattler or a Pratt in round 3 or 4 – there's only a couple of those names.
Yeah,
and
you're
they're
spinning the wheel on that.
Yeah, I don't want to go into the draft saying we have to get them or whatever. But if you went with 3, and one of them was Tannehill in particular, Arthur was talking about this earlier. It's like those veteran guys know the system. He doesn't need the practice time that most do, and he'll be fine. He still may end up being the best player. If you were to sign Tannehill, would he even hardly play in the preseason? Probably not. There's probably enough. It's different than the last 3-man competition you would have because Tannehill's established enough that the 2 of them could handle the bulk of the reps in the preseason and stuff, and you'd still have a pretty good idea what the bird in the hand is in Tannehill.
And how many teams played more than 2 quarterbacks last year?
It's funny. We mentioned that we were hoping Omar was going to come on. One of my first questions was going to be, 2 years ago, 69 quarterbacks started in the league. Last year was slightly under. Do you think the league is going to start spending more resources on second and even third-string quarterbacks?
Yeah, I think there were like 11 or 12 quarterbacks that played all 17 games last year.
That's it.
Period. And there were still 60 quarterbacks that played.
Was it 60? Yeah.
Well, 60 plus, whatever it ended up being. I mean,
I think the Steelers have been doing it a long time, but I think more teams are going to keep 3. And that third guy is not going to be a throwaway 7th-round pick that no one's ever heard of.
Yeah.
They play so much anymore.
Yeah.
So if you had 3 of them that are starter capable, take 3 bites at the apple, I don't hate that strategy.
Especially if you feel like your roster is good and is a roster built to compete overall. You don't want to be in a situation like the Vikings were last year where all of a sudden they're better than what people thought they were going to be. Then they lose Cousins, and then it's just, okay, this guy this week and that guy next week and this guy, because you're just hoping, trying to string enough together to win games.
Yeah. No, that's a nightmare. I mean, they're the perfect example. They had no backup plan.
They had no plan whatsoever. None.
Trading for Dobbs, and every week it's somebody different. And I think if the Steelers took that 3-headed approach, considering the names that have been thrown around, I don't think any of them are that level player, where it's just, boy, we can't win with him. But I do think one worry would be and Tomlin would handle this just fine, the whole world's calling for number 2 because number 1's below average. Not horrible, but he's below average. So let's go look what the next guy is. And then, well, he's below average too. Let's go look what the third guy is. And you don't want to get in that situation and the fans chanting for the backup, whoever the backup is, just because they're the backup. But
like
that stuff is, you think Tomlin can handle that stuff? I mean, he's been doing it his whole life.
Charlie Batch, I love Charlie Batch.
Yeah.
Great guy. Known Charlie for a long time. And people act like Charlie Batch is right there with like Jeff Hostetler in terms of, he came in and won us. He's like 5-3 as a starter.
Yeah, Steve Young behind Montana or
8
something.
career starts as a Steeler.
Yeah.
Oh, he's the best backup in Steelers history. Is he? Started 8 games.
He was more than adequate. You hope those guys aren't out there a lot.
You can make the argument that it might be Mason Rudolph.
Yeah.
Who's now like 8-4-1 as a start, as a backup.
Right.
Yeah.
What name did you give us there?
Or
Ben was a
Ben
pretty
Roethlisberger,
good
that one game that he was a backup.
Yeah.
But what are you asking your backup to do? That's the big thing here. And
Paul implied too that a Tannehill would be a good mentor type guy too. That he didn't do cartwheels to do that for Willis, but he also explained himself as that my job is to win games here too.
Right.
But if you realize, but it's not like he was adverse to it in any way, shape, or form. A guy like Brissett has done plenty of that. That wouldn't be Rudolph's role. I mean, he's going to be here to compete. But I do think there's value in that, having that coach on the field type guy.
No doubt, and I think the relationship between those guys also comes into play. How do they mesh together? And in that regard, Charlie was a good backup.
Yeah, right.
I'm
not
ripping on Charlie at all.
Oh, I think those guys have a lot of value.
Charlie had a lot of value and did what he was supposed to do in those situations, and he was a good sounding board for Ben.
And we'd never know how valuable all 3 of those guys were to Ben. And all 3 of them are still working in football for a living. Like a lot of backup quarterbacks do that stuff because they end up being coaches or analysts and that type of thing. So
because they've sit and watched the game differently than
It's good for a good young quarterback.
Yeah.
especially if they draft one too. Should be all ears as well.
Another safety hitting the market here, Matt.
Yeah.
Kevin Byard is going to be released by the Philadelphia Eagles. They traded a 5th-round pick, a 6th-round pick, and Terrell Edmonds.
All for Byard.
For Byard to
at
get
the deadline.
10 games out of him last year.
Yeah. Well,
and
they thought they were a contender.
They won the first couple of games, and then it kind of went downhill for them.
Mm-hmm.
So you rented this guy, 75 tackles, an interception, 3 pass defenses for Kevin Byard last year. They won the first
for the whole season.
Yeah, for the just with the Eagles. So he averaged basically 7.5 tackles per game. A little bit older, but he's been a highly skilled, highly competitive.
He's had a great career.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a stretch where he was one of the best safeties in the league. I think those days are probably gone. But I also don't think he'd be as expensive as he thought a year or two ago either.
If you bring him in to be Robin to Minkah Fitzpatrick, that would have some attractiveness.
I would also have some attractiveness to Edmonds as the 3.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he'd be expensive at all at this point in his career. It's kind of a throw-in in that trade. He's not going to make
that would
the
actually
kind of
be kind of funny if you signed Byard and Edmonds.
And you two
guys were traded for each other last year, and
But I do think they're going to sign a safety well before the draft.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think you bring in another guy there. And,
I'd only be in for a 1-year deal for Byard, though, at his age.
Yeah,
I mean, the age of the defense concerns me a little bit.
No, there's no doubt, but
But you want another safety to get on the market.
Yeah, and again, maybe somebody signs him instead of signing one of the
guy you wanted.
Yeah,
right.
So that class is more interesting by the day here.
Yes. I like the group of safeties a lot.
The Saints releasing are going to release May.
Marcus May.
Marcus May as well. Another safety.
Put another one on the market.
Yeah.
Yep. And there'll be plenty more. There's always safeties on the market.
Yeah.
That you can get by with. I'd like them to do better than get by.
Yeah, more than get by.
Yeah.
I mean, but if you
but they flood the market, it brings down the price.
You've got the best one in the league.
Mm-hmm.
So you can build around that. You don't need to sign another guy who's the best one in the league.
No.
You don't need to spend $18 million on another safety. You've already got that guy.
I look at a guy like Gilman from the Chargers, who was a late-round pick, hasn't made a ton of money, ascending, sign him to a 2-year deal. He's your number 2, real-quality player, versatile, and there's 7 or 8 of those out there right now.
Also in the news today is that Caleb Williams is not doing any medicals here.
He isn't.
He's going to do the medicals on his team visits.
Wow. Because he might only go to one.
Here's the thing.
Right.
More and more.
When do team visits start?
Usually in that last month of after the pro days. So you're looking at that.
You're not allowed to do it.
It's in April, basically. That stretch in April.
So this only affects the Bears.
He's turning me off more and more.
I hear what you're saying.
With the attitude. Like, he's acting like he is Andrew Luck, and he is not Andrew Luck.
No.
He is not a generational talent.
I agree. I mean, he's a very good prospect, but if you're the Bears, though, you want to trade Fields soon.
Yes.
And you want to draft Williams. But what if something medical pops up between now and then?
Well, okay, then I'll take Daniels maybe. But
well, I mean, if you already, I guess you could pivot off to one of the others or trade the pick still, but you would hope. This implies to me.
You're not going to trade the pick, though, if you've already jettisoned Fields.
I mean, unless you went to, like, 3.
Right.
Yeah, right. This implies to me that the Bears and Williams know they're going to be married.
Well, I think that's the assumption.
That's the assumption.
That's the assumption that Caleb Williams is working on right now, and I don't know that he's the number 1 prospect.
Yeah. I think him and the Bears must think they are. But as we find out in every combine, once you get poked and prodded by 9,000 doctors, there might be something medical that he doesn't even know about yet.
Right.
You know, like I always go back to Maurice Hurst.
Kinstreak shows up and finds out he has a fractured foot.
Yeah, Maurice Hurst had a heart issue.
Yeah.
You know, that dropped him from a first-round pick to a fifth-round pick. I mean, so that's a big leap of faith to say, I know I'm 100% medical. That's what I'm getting out of that.
Yeah. I just
don't want to get poked and prodded by 100 doctors. I want to get poked and prodded by 1 team.
Yeah.
That I understand, but the timing's rough.
I just don't know that he is a surefire slam dunk. Oh, boy, this guy's really good. He's going to be – I don't know that he's that.
I don't know that he's that either, but I think the Bears believe he's that. So for this decision, what's the difference? Did you see the Harrison decision?
No.
He's not going to work out at all.
Well, I knew that.
For anybody.
For anybody, yeah.
Yeah, like I'm just concentrating on football stuff, which if you're the best out there, you can get away with that.
Yeah.
I don't think if you're the third receiver, you can get away with that.
Well, I think, Lamar refused to run a 40.
Yeah, those things happen here
Yeah.
and there. But he's not going to do anything. I'm not going to do a drill. I'm not going to jump because I am spending all my time between now and then running routes and working on my hands and doing football stuff. And nowadays, too, I'm sure there's videos from the Ohio State weight room with him doing obscene things. He was like number 2 on the freaks list.
Let's obscene. We have to watch how we word that a little bit there. Come on.
But I was asked the other day, like, do you think this is going to be a trend that players are going to say, and that's why we talk about the Williams thing, or some players just going to say, I am not working out at all, 0. Or some guys saying, I'm not doing medicals unless I'm in your building. I know they have more power than ever, and these NILs, they have some money in their pocket, and the world's changing, but
this is still a job interview.
It's still a job interview. This is different than McCaffrey not going to the bowl game.
Now you're taking yourself and you're putting yourself above. I'm so much better than everybody else.
I'm so great, right?
That I don't need to do that. That's for the peons.
Mm-hmm.
That bothers me. That kind of attitude would bother me if I were taking that player.
There's a couple
Is he
times
going to do that in your locker room and try to hold himself above everybody else?
Right, especially after he has some success and a lot more money and prestige, and he's the biggest guy on campus. I mean, it bothered a lot of people that Elway wouldn't play for the Colts or Eli wouldn't play for the Chargers. Like, I'm the first overall pick, but I'm not going to that team. I mean, that was groundbreaking at the time, too. It worked out for both.
Yeah.
Right.
But to me, it just sends the wrong message in what is the ultimate team sport.
Agreed. No,
there's 22 guys, 21 other starters, and you're going to put yourself on that pedestal before you've played it down?
Mm-hmm. Right. It's like, I forget who it was, Clausen, showing up at Notre Dame as a true freshman in a limo. Like, dude.
Yeah.
What are you doing there?
Yeah. How'd that work out for him?
Right. Not so great.
Golden
boy coming to the Dome to save the day.
Imagine trying to do that at, say, I don't know, West Virginia. Yeah, you just pull up at the tractor at West Virginia, right?
Then you'd be
and Wes is over there nodding his head. The John Deere thresher.
But it's a crazy time in scouting. I mean, with all the transfers, all the stuff, the money these guys have, we're going to have a lot of these instances in the next couple of years where
with
people
the transfer
come
stuff,
with great ideas.
The transfer stuff's interesting in that, when we were talking with Max about it yesterday, he says, when they're doing the FBI background checks and they're going back and talking to your 4th grade teacher. Mm-hmm. If you've transferred a few times, now you're open. These guys they thought he was bad. They didn't like him. Or that's that place.
There's more input.
Way more input.
Yeah.
So now you're getting. Maybe you have a better relationship with the guys at LSU than for Jaden Daniels than you did with the guys at Arizona.
Some teams will never say anything bad about a player. They'll tell you all the information. The liaison. I was actually the liaison for like 2 minutes. That's why I got the Browns job. but the liaison is in charge of all the NFL scouts that come in. You get them set up with all the right things, and you present them information. You spend some portion of your day answering questions, and a lot of liaisons will not ever say anything negative. And you know that going in there. Like, you could say, well, what happened here? I'm like, well, we're not going to tell you that. Or whatever, So if you can go Auburn and Oregon on Bo Nix, or any example, there's tons of them now. Well, there's one more mouth, telling you something.
Yeah, these guys might say he's the greatest thing ever, but you say that about every player.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes to the other place, and you go, well, there was this that we didn't like.
His teammates weren't big on this about him, but he's a good kid overall, blah, blah, blah. Right. Yeah. But it's just one more resource.
Yeah, so I just wonder how much that affects this. Again, you have way more information.
I've been saying all week that if someone writes the history of scouting in 2050, this is going to be the Wild West time. And they're going to be like the COVID years and the transfer years were a really odd time in the scouting
playing
history.
6 and 7 years of college football.
Yeah. And finally next year we're out of the whole – there won't be any more COVID designations.
Yeah, thank goodness. God, I hate – I'm watching a player, and I really like the player, and then I start looking into him. I'm like, oh, well, he's 25.
25.
No wonder he looks like he's a man playing with boys. He is.
If he's a guard and he's 25 years old against a 19-year-old, he should probably win.
It used to be you just had to worry about that with, like, the BYU guys. Mm-hmm. Well, now it's,
Everybody, right. So after this year, it gets a lot cleaner. Yeah. There's still the transfers and that stuff, but it won't be the age discrepancies.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people think the bottom of the draft will go back to being better. The last couple of years have been bad at the bottom of the draft.
I think the bottom will get deeper next year.
There's some normalcy.
Yeah, the NIL has changed as well. I don't begrudge those guys making some money.
No. And that's really hurt the juniors coming out.
Yeah.
I mean, if I go back in my senior year and make money, maybe win a national title, maybe increase my stock, that's a lot better than making nothing and doing, rolling dice.
Absolutely. Or, I blow my knee out and I've got nothing.
Yeah.
Now at least I've got something in the bank.
I at least made something.
Makes the risk worthwhile.
Yeah.
Let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I'm Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on Steelers Nation Radio and Fox Sports Pittsburgh. We are live from the NFL Scouting Combine here in Indianapolis, and we will be back with more right after this.
Just a lesson in disguise, so hold your head high, cause we gon' survive. We gon' survive. Her loss is just a lesson in disguise, so hold your head high, cause we gon' survive. We gon' survive. No, it's not the ending. You still got time left, it's still pending. The best part is the process, not winning. Focus on the journey, the L is part of learning. Lose as much as possible, then you can do the impossible. You learn to maneuver and hurdle any obstacle. Giving up is optional, it's up to you to let it go. But if you keep it moving, that's when you come exceptional. Do what's in your heart, don't calculate it, just let it flow. If it feels right, keep it going, that's when you know. Plant a lot of seeds, water it, then it will grow. It might take long, remain strong, then it will show. Turn losses into lessons, it's another blessing. Don't waste time stressing, or time flexing. Always stay loose, be water, keep stretching. And when the time comes, that's when you'll get the message. A loss is just a lesson in disguise, so hold your head high, cause we gon' survive. We gon' survive. A loss is just a lesson in disguise, so hold your head high, cause we gon' survive. We gon' survive. A loss is just a lesson in disguise, so hold your head high, cause we gon' survive. We gon' survive. A loss is just a lesson in disguise, so hold your head high, cause we gon' survive. We gon' survive.
Welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. We are live here at the Indiana Convention Center in Indianapolis for the Scouting Combine. I don't know what's going on with my microphone here. Anyways, we were talking to kick off the last segment before we went down the rabbit hole and all the other stuff about Omar Khan's media availability yesterday And
we didn't get very far on that, huh?
Yeah, he was asked about many other things other than the quarterback situation.
Than the one question, yeah.
Yeah, obviously that dominated the conversation a little bit, but as one would expect. But he was also asked, for example, about Cam Hayward's situation. He goes, look, first of all, Hayward tweeted out on social media or put out on his social media on Instagram or whatever that he had a surgery recently. And Omar said, look, we want Cam back. We want him to be a part of this. We're not interested in moving on or anything like that. We've talked about that earlier in the week.
That's not surprising.
He said, but we have to, we know he's going to be 35. We got to be smart about how we handle this. So, he doesn't need to take a bunch of practice snaps and OTA sessions or training camp sessions. Yeah. In fact, he could probably teach the defense to everybody else.
Oh, yeah. That's great. I mean, we've seen less and less from him in those types of situations, which is smart. And I would think this year you really almost say, I don't even need you in training camp, period. I mean, maybe some individual stuff or that type of thing.
It might even be during, he was taking days off throughout the season. Obviously, he was dealing with multiple injuries last year.
Coming off a big injury.
Yeah,
right.
Coming off a big injury. If that's more the norm, I'm okay with that.
So be it. I think that should be.
He shows up on Sundays.
Right. And if it becomes a problem, if week after week he's not the player he was, well, maybe you ramp it back up. But I think you go in with bubble wrap in mind.
But the other beautiful thing about that, and this is something that they were able to do with Ben Roethlisberger as well, when he got later into his career, when you bring in, you have younger guys there, you use those practice reps for those guys.
Exactly. Yeah.
And they benefit from it, and he benefits from the rest.
Mm-hmm. And he's also coaching them up to some degree.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's going to be involved. He'll be right on top of them, even if he's not in pads that day.
Yeah. He was also.
That's a great way of handling it.
He was also asked about the Najee Harris fifth-year option.
Yeah.
That they'll have to decide by early May if they're going to pick that up. He said, we have to talk about with Arthur Smith about that if he fits the offense. I have to believe that's a yes.
I tend to think so, too. I mean, the only small stumbling block I could even envision is Smith does run a lot of outside zone, and that's not Najee's specialty. But I think you've probably had this conversation before he was hired, and I bet he runs less outside zone. And it's not that Najee can't do it either, And the price tag's very friendly.
Yeah. He was also asked about Broderick Jones and being a left tackle. And he said, we feel Broderick Jones is a left tackle. He started at right tackle this past season, but we drafted him to be a left tackle. Eventually, he's going to be our left tackle.
Which I'm fine with. I mean, I know players want to be a left tackle. There's a little bit of distinction there. There's a little bit of prestigiousness there. That's not even a word.
A little bit of prestige.
Prestige. That's the one I was looking for. The issue, as currently constructed, is Dan Moore seems way, way happier on the left side.
Well, Mike Tomlin was asked about that at his season-ending press conference and said, could those two guys flip-flop? Could Dan Moore go to right tackle and Broderick Jones go to left tackle? He said, well, Dan Moore's way better on the left side.
Yeah, so it makes me think you are in the market for a right tackle.
Yeah.
I mean, all of a sudden, the starting right tackle might not be on the team.
Yeah, and, there's a few right tackle.
Few in the draft.
Few right tackle prospects in this draft.
Yep, that should be sitting there around 20, too. I think that's a really appealing spot. Of course, it could be another direction, but I think if I put a chip down on March 1st, what position would the Steelers pick at 20 would be a tackle?
Yeah.
I mean, it's rare to have this choice, so you grab it.
And a right tackle.
Yeah.
So,
which the guys in this mix are pretty much all right tackles, just so happens.
I mean, Altz could play.
Well, but he's not going to be a Steeler. Him and
Fashanu,
I'm not even counting. But the other guys are much more right than left.
Yeah. But if I'm looking at this group this year, and now you start to could Leighton.
That would be wonderful.
Could he be a Steeler? Absolutely.
Yeah. I think the chances are, what would prohibit that is he might go 8th.
Yeah. So does that, it used to be the left tackles always went higher.
Mm-hmm.
Is that still the case?
Slightly, but not really.
Yeah.
I mean, like Penei Sewell was a left tackle. They turned to the right, and he's probably never going back.
Yeah.
He's one of the best 2 or 3 tackles in the league. It still exists, but to me, it's not going to stop. I know the Bengals need a right tackle. There's plenty of teams, the Giants. There's plenty of teams that right tackle's as big a need as any.
I mean, ideally, if Latham or Fuaga are there, you just go turn it in.
I think that's an easy one, right?
Yeah, you just go turn it in.
And we'll see what they think of.
And they're plug-and-play guys.
Yes, in terms of being ready week one.
I think if it's Mims or Guyton, who are both also right tackles.
You think they could take like a Broderick Jones path?
That might take some time.
Yeah, agreed. Guyton they both look like left tackles, but they both have only really played the right.
Right.
But you want them on the right, so what's the difference?
Yeah.
Even if they have a left tackle skill set, in terms of their agility, Guyton to me is not a glass eater right tackle type like a Latham is.
Although he's huge.
He's humongous though, right? And
I mean, usually
so much to work with there.
Yeah, usually your right tackle is the bigger guy because you're going to run behind him more often. That's why to me,
I'd be fine with any of those that we just mentioned. And I think there'll be 2 or 3 available.
Broderick Jones wants to be a left tackle. I get it. But he's such a good run blocker.
The thing is, let's say you take Mims or Guyton. Does Broderick Jones start the season at right? And Moore's your left until those guys are ready, and then you make 2 changes, which I don't love.
That becomes the problem.
Or do you sign a right tackle to $4 million a year that can at least?
I can't see going that route.
As I say, that's a total placeholder.
Yeah.
Like better than LaRaven Clark type.
Yeah,
I don't think that's where you spend your money is.
Yeah.
And a first-round pick.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think so.
Because you already have placeholders on your roster. Dan Moore's the placeholder.
Do they like Dylan Cook enough that he could be the week 1 starter until round 1 guy is ready? That seems like a leap of faith.
Yeah. Now you're benching your left tackle to move your right tackle over, and you're inserting a young guy into that spot.
Right. So
that's the puzzle.
That's asking a lot of Broderick though to be like, hey, I want you to play right tackle until the first-round pick is ready.
Here's the interesting thing though. So last year, if you remember throughout training camp, Broderick Jones rarely took snaps on the right side. It was all on the left side.
When he got inserted in the lineup, I was really shocked that they plugged him
on the right side.
Right, yeah.
Because he hadn't really done it.
We watched all those snaps. He was never a right tackle.
Yeah.
And which shows how immensely talented he is.
Yeah.
That he was as good as he was as a rookie. That's a position that always struggles as a rookie on the wrong side.
Yeah. The idea is to get your best 5 on the field regardless of how you do it.
So I'm really interested in it. So far away, but first mini camp up until does he just take all reps at left tackle? At this point of his career, is he practicing to be a left tackle for the next 12 years?
Yeah.
And you'll just figure out right somewhere along the line. Who knows?
Yeah. Then you look at.
They don't have a guard that could bump out, or there isn't a real placeholder in the mix right now.
You look at some of the other guys that are available there. I mean, maybe a Blake Fisher.
Mm-hmm.
If you let's say you go.
You're not going round 1.
Let's say you go center or cornerback in round 1.
Mm-hmm.
I think Fisher's more of a 3rd-round pick.
Right.
And it's coming out of.
It'd be really nice if Dan Moore could play right though.
Yeah.
Because if I can't just throw a 3rd-round pick in there and say you're a starting right tackle, sink or swim.
That's the problem.
Because I don't want to spend money on one either.
Yeah.
So.
Or you make
at
that
first
guy,
I get it.
You make that 3rd-round tackle as your project.
Mm-hmm.
And you say, okay, we're not planning on playing you all year long.
Then Broderick's, you're right.
Dan Moore is the left, Broderick's the right, and you make that move next year.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could, or mid-season if there's an injury.
If there's an injury, then you make the switch. But otherwise, you stick with that plan.
Yeah, it's a little unfortunate that Moore seems like a left tackle only.
Yeah. In
this instance, because eventually he's probably just your 2. And he
and
maybe can't even be the swing guy if your right guy gets hurt.
Part of the problem with him, and we say that and Mike Tomlin says, well, he's better on the left side than the right, because of how things broke his rookie year.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember that training camp, that was during COVID. We're at the stadium the entire time. The idea was that the battle was going to be at right tackle between Zach Banner and Chuks Okorafor.
Right.
And so they're just playing him at left tackle because Zach Banner got hurt. So now you're down to just Chuks Okorafor there.
Mm-hmm.
Banner's not in the equation. And then when Banner did come back and they wanted to switch, they moved Okorafor to left tackle.
I'm trying to think how that went. I'm following along. Yeah.
For like a day and a half.
Okay.
And then Banner got and they put Dan Moore at right tackle with the second team.
Mm-hmm.
and then Zach Banner got hurt again.
Yeah, I remember
and
that.
So they
clogging up the works.
They flipped
again,
it back.
right.
Oh, well, the rookie's played all. He's gotten all of his snaps on the left side. Let's move him back over there. And Okorafor had been your starting right tackle, so put him over there.
Put him over there. Oh, it'll be interesting. I mean, if they draft a Mims or a Guyton or Fuaga's probably different because I think he's just you're the right tackle.
He's plug and
you're
play.
Fine.
Yeah, I think.
And I think you might have to do that with Mims or Guyton too.
I think Latham and Fuaga are plug and play guys.
Yeah, I haven't even mentioned Latham anymore because I think he's going to go in the top 10.
They can't all go in the top 10. Though.
True.
So if Fashanu and
I think Fashanu could fall a little.
I think he could too.
Because I don't think he'll test tremendous here.
So at what point, if you're the Steelers, because I think there's a little bit of a gap between those two guys and the Guytons and Mims. Whereas
I think my gap is less than yours.
I think those two guys are plug and play.
But there's
the other two
their
guys
availability early is
not. You're not going to just plug them at the right side and say, okay, Broderick, you're the left tackle.
Well, let me throw another thing at you here because Daniel Jones mocked the Washington kid to the Steelers.
Yeah.
Would you just put him at right tackle?
Potentially.
I mean, if you're not looking at.
But he was a left in college as well.
Yeah,
He's not
right.
necessarily going to be a left in
his skill set to me implies more traditional right than left.
The key for him is, what is his arm length going to be? He's 6'4". He's a little shorter. But if his arms are long enough.
Mm-hmm. If it's not bad.
Yeah.
Maybe he's also one more name to the mix.
Yeah.
Because I found it odd
then you'd have a third
DJ put him with the Steelers.
A third plug-and-play right
tackle. Right. I mean, he's ready to go now, although it's a position change.
Yeah.
But he'd have a lot of time to make that position change.
You have the entire offseason to work on that. And to me, those are the –
if it doesn't work out, James Daniels a free agent. He might be the right guard the year after. Or,
right.
That's why DJ put him there. Is like he's going to be a starter for 5 years somewhere.
Yeah. My question is, at what point, if those tackles happen to go off the board early, do you think about making a jump up like they did last year to go get one of those guys who are the plug and play guys as opposed to the guy that's going to be a developmental guy?
Yeah, but from what I think it's different than last year because the fourth guy last year, I don't remember even who it was. If we don't count Skoronski.
It was he went to Jacksonville, the Oklahoma kid.
I thought there was a massive gap there, though. I mean, I thought there was 3 really good tackle prospects, Wright, Johnson, Jones, where this one, maybe they aren't as plug and play. Mims and Guyton, to me, are still phenomenal prospects that I'd rather trade back and take one of them than trade up to get the third guy or the fourth guy.
But 4 in the top 20, I mean.
Mims is Latham is the one that maybe I'd trade up for. If he's there at 15 or 16, then it's like, wow.
Well, we did a mock draft, 2 weeks ago, where he fell to 20. I'm just like, there's your pick.
That's an easy one to me.
That's an easy one.
I don't know if Fuaga's I don't think he's as easy as that. I think you could have a conversation of Fuaga versus Guyton versus Mims, even though he is closer to playing now.
I think Fuaga is.
I like them all.
A 12-year starter in the league, and
no, I like them all a lot.
Yeah,
but I could definitely see. I could see any order.
The question then becomes,
especially after they work out,
if you're the Steelers, and let's say you have those 4 tackles, rated highly, including the Washington kid, but then you have that a little bit of a gap between the other plug-and-play guy. After those guys, these guys, Mims and Guyton aren't plug-and-play guys, or Jackson Powers-Johnson. And
see, again, if I'm putting a chip down on the first day of March and no one gets hurt, I think your Week 10 starters from left to right are Jones, Siamalu, free agent center, Daniels, first-round pick. But how you get there could be rocky. Which is how we've talked about for the last 10
and
15
I don't know,
minutes. After
the past 2 seasons, I don't know if I'm ready to wouldn't you like to hit the ground running a little bit? Because you're going to have a new offense here as well. It's good. You have to feel like that's going to take a couple of weeks to.
I mean, the more we talk through this, I think this is why you pay your offensive line coach to get your first-round pick ready for Week 1. And you help them,
Yeah.
I mean, you keep Darnell Washington on that side. Or, you help them.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting how that works out. But I do believe, as we sit here on March the 1st at the Combine, the Steelers' first-round draft pick is, if I had to put money down on it, would be an offensive lineman.
Me too. It would
because I think the corner class is much deeper in terms of the
day two guys would be suitable.
Yeah.
I would go so far as say tackle too. I mean, but an offensive lineman, I'd feel very comfortable with.
Very comfortable.
Yeah,
extremely so. We're going to get to another break. He is the
One more,
Matt
right?
Williamson. We got one more segment left here on the show. Gerard Schaefer, very happy about that. But we are live at the NFL Scouting Combine here in Indianapolis. He's Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley, and we will be back with more on Fox Sports Pittsburgh and Steelers Nation Radio right after this. Welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. This is The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio and Fox Sports Pittsburgh. And we are coming to you live from the NFL Scouting Combine here in Indianapolis. And
wrapping it up.
We are wrapping it up here. How do you look at Graham Barton out of Duke in that conversation?
Center only. Guard only.
6'5", 314, like, you know. He's.
You might have two needs.
You might have two needs.
I don't think he's a top 20 player, though.
Yeah,
that's a trade down.
He's a solid prospect.
He's a solid prospect. That's interesting because, again, we were talking to Dane, and I mentioned, I'm like, yeah, but unfortunately, he's going to be not there in the second round for the Steelers, and I can't take him in the top 20. He's like, yeah, I totally agree. But then he said he easily could still sneak in the first round, and I mentioned to him, I was like, like the Niners. The Niners have 4 spots on their O-line where they need help. I'd be thrilled if I got him as a Niner.
Right.
Maybe he's my right tackle, he's my right
plug
guard,
him somewhere.
Yeah. So if you don't have a center signed, or it's a cheaper one, or someone that's not a slam dunk, and you tried Barton at right tackle until he failed, with the backup plan being center, or a year from now guard, he's going to help you. But the problem with that plan is I think then you need to sign a right tackle, which I don't want to do. Because what if he fails?
Well, you still have Dan Moore.
But he has to go to right. Or I guess Broderick would go to right.
Broderick stays at right this year.
Stays at right. Okay. Yeah, I guess that's the plan.
I mean, there's the whole machinations of this offensive line.
My thoughts are, though, like from now, what are the Steelers telling Broderick to practice right now, left or right?
Well, he's not practicing anything right now.
He's doing something. I mean, he's
working out.
He's working on his stance, and he's doing his own stuff. Or, he's, you working on a left tackle stance
both.
Or right tackle stance?
I'm telling him both.
Say we're going to
because you just don't know. Or right now, you don't know anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So right now, all he's doing is working on his foot speed or working on, his strength or whatever.
Staying in shape and all that stuff. Okay. I would just love for him to know what position he's playing.
Well, he'll know when they open OTAs.
I mean, he'd probably know after the draft.
He'll know exactly where he's going to be lining up at. We've got another month here and he'll know exactly where he's going to line up at. Maybe
they're comfortable enough that because the fact they threw him in the right and he was so good, maybe they're comfortable enough to say he may not have to practice like crazy at either one. We're just going to throw him in and he's still our best guy. Possible. So if you drafted Barton, would you start him? I mean, would he?
It depends on what I do in free agency here.
Yeah.
If I sign a center, okay, Graham, you're going to work at right tackle.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't do anything, you said, Graham, you're going to work at center.
Like if you gave him to me today, I know the world doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Then I've eliminated my center need.
Right.
I'm just to say you're a center.
You're a center.
You know what I mean? Right.
Yeah.
But I'm not 100% sold that he can't be a right tackle.
One of the other things that Omar talked about, and he mentioned it multiple times yesterday, Omar Khan, the Steelers GM, when he spoke, was how much he values position flexibility on the offensive line.
They seem to have a little less of that than they have in the past. I mean, I think Tomlin's stressed that for years and years too. There's not many guard tackles or tackle set, or there are some guard centers.
I think they have more flexibility than some other teams.
Yeah, if Daniels is a center, if Herbig's a center, or able to do it, or willing to do it, or can thrive doing it. But Moore's only a left. Yeah, I don't know. Barton, it would be a very versatile piece that would help somewhere.
Yeah,
I doubt he'd be terrible at right tackle.
I just don't know that he's one of those. He's not one of those 24 guys that are surefire first-round picks.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
I mean, I would need a nice chunk in a trade down.
Yeah,
a nice
haul
of picks.
The availability of guys.
Then I might draft a right tackle in the third round, the Harris kid or somebody. You know what I mean?
The availability of guys like that
or,
makes this. If I get an extra third-round pick out of it, okay.
Yeah, and then I'm drafting the Yale kid too.
Now maybe I draft two cornerbacks too, or now I get my inside linebacker.
Yeah.
That
That's the thing. Is you get a bunch of day 2 picks doesn't look bad either.
Yeah. That are going to fill in some needs and make my team younger
and cheaper.
Yeah. So it's all different ways to go.
No, it's fun.
It's part of this whole process.
It's fun. I've written off Barfield and I've written off. I always forget his name. The Washington tackle. He's gonna be a first-round pick. I mean, he's a good player. And they both have position versatility. I just don't know that they're in the mix for the Steelers. But you would find a spot for them.
Yeah.
They'd be one of your best 5, which isn't the worst thing in the world.
No, my laptop is acting up something fierce here, and I don't know what the deal is.
It's a bottom of the 9th. You don't need it.
I don't need. I would just talk off the top of our heads here. I don't need to see what's going on in the world. That was always our problem when we used to do the shows at training camp. If you remember when we were down by the gate.
Oh, yeah.
Where all the fans come in at, and we couldn't. The Wi-Fi didn't work down there.
Right.
We're doing a 2 or 3 hour radio show with no access whatsoever to anything that's happening in the outside world.
Right, or any articles or databases or things we use.
And we start talking about something, and I want to go to I can't look this up.
What's his hideaway again? I don't know.
I'm guessing. So let's just take a minute here for this thing to reload here. But it's been a good week, Matt.
No, it has. It has. The buzz around here is great. It sounds ludicrous, but we got a nice ride home, and I will watch Combine tonight. Like, I always feel like I'm behind.
I couldn't watch any of it last night because we don't have it at the hotel.
Yeah.
I'm having a little bit of an issue with my foot here, and so I walked to the closest place to eat last night, and they didn't have it on there, so I'm watching it on my phone.
Yeah.
I'm sitting sitting there as I'm eating, and I'm watching guys run on my phone.
Yeah.
Like,
I remember most years we find
in
a bar with it. Right. I say this every year, though, like probably on the last day, that I've been at the Combine for 4 nights now, and I feel very behind on the Combine.
Yeah, you kind of lose track of everything else that's going on because if we're not here on the air, which we've been 4 hours a day, you're walking to and fro, and it's not a close walk. And it's walkable.
And the first couple of days, there's no events.
Right.
So when they hit like a tidal wave. And I'm scrambling. So when I get home, I'll buckle down in my lazy boy, and I'll just watch. And I like to hear the commentary, too. And,
That's why I like to, walk around and listen to the guys talk. I may not necessarily be writing anything about that particular player, or if I hear something that's interesting, I might write about it. But I just want to I want to see how they handle questions, how they do those kind of things.
So I'm psyched to watch it. I mean, I'll go back and I'll start with the defensive lineman tonight.
So it used to be here that – The biggest question that was asked to everybody, it was asked to every single guy, hey, did you visit with the Eagles? Did you visit with the Saints? Well, yes, they visited with everybody.
With everybody.
Right.
It's almost a bit at this point.
It really is.
Right.
Well, now
hey, did you hear from the Titans?
They've also let some TikTokers or something in here, and they're shooting, trying to get viral videos over there of guys talking about it. One, I think it was a defensive back or a wide receiver. I don't remember because asking if he believes if the earth is round. I mean, come on. What are we doing here? This isn't.
Yeah.
That's not what this is for.
Yeah.
And then people wonder why players because
this week hasn't been hard enough on them.
They lump all that stuff in as media guys. And they aren't media guys.
They're not the same.
It's not the same.
Right. They're not credentialed with a team type guys.
Covering the league and covering football.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care necessarily who's your favorite
superhero
philosopher or superhero.
Right.
What kind of animal would you like to be?
And he asks these guys a bunch of those questions. Someone's going to say something goofy, and then
I got what I wanted.
Right.
Yeah, that's what they're trying to do there, and it just drives me nuts.
I remember when Jared Goff came out, I think he said it wrong, but he didn't know if the sun set in the west or the east or whatever. You know how many questions he's asked, all day, every day, and one comes out of your mouth wrong, and that's all anyone remembers.
Yeah.
Just leave me alone.
It's just you get 15 minutes with these guys when they're on the podium, and you're wasting time asking how many different teams that they visited. When 32
the
different people
all of them.
I've talked to everybody.
Yeah, I've talked to everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
And then stuff like that. Just you can't do anything substantial on a guy. When you're
answering nonsense, right? 15 minutes goes by pretty quick.
They've tried to get the teams away from asking those kind of questions of players.
Okay.
Hey, if you could be, what's your spirit animal? Come on, man.
Right.
They don't want teams asking questions like that anymore, and they've gotten away from that. And now you get
ask them who was the best receiver they ever played with, or whatever, something football related, or. Boy, you had an interesting history growing up in a foreign country.
Yeah.
How's that influenced your life? Whatever. I mean, just something that matters.
More substantial things. You want to learn more about the player as opposed to what his spirit animal would
be. Yes.
I know Wes's is a rabid chipmunk. That's his spirit animal. But
it's getting late in the week.
Yeah. We're winding down here, Matt, and it's been a good
fun.
Week.
Yeah, it's been fun.
A lot of good guests on the shows this week. A lot of fun.
Guests were great, yeah.
A lot of fun talk.
Thanks to all those guys.
Learn some stuff.
Definitely learn some stuff.
Yeah. Start to.
And we're back at it Monday, right?
We are back at it Monday. We'll get home and kind of digest this whole thing. It might.
Yeah. there'll be a lot of combine stuff to discuss. I mean, what they do on the field and heights and weights and
morph my big board again here and start looking at we get triple takes coming up here. We're going to start breaking these positions down starting this week, actually.
Yeah,
this week coming up.
Start writing this weekend.
So start putting those together and getting a better idea of how my board breaks down and those kind of things, as will you and Mike Pursuta as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple positions that are non-Steeler related that I haven't really dug into yet. Yeah, right, including quarterback.
Yeah, so we'll get to do more of that here in the coming weeks here, and of course you can continue to follow all of our great draft coverage on Steelers.com, here on Steelers Nation Radio as well, where we get all we do is talk NFL and Steelers.
Of course,
that's what we do year round on these very airwaves. But that is going to do it for our time.
Another week in the books, bud.
Absolutely, another week here, another combine in the books.
How about it?
It was
a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. Had a lot of fun, learned a lot of stuff, and ate a lot of bad food.
It was tasty.
Bad food usually is. That's the problem. But that's going to do it for our coverage here on Steelers Nation Radio. The group effort that we had here with Wesley Euler, Arthur Moats, Max Starks, Jerry Dulek, of course, my partner Matt Williamson, and I'm Dale Lolley. We thank you for listening all week long to our coverage here live from the NFL Scouting Combine here in Indianapolis on Steelers Nation Radio and Fox Sports Pittsburgh.
A lot of the Steelers.